Well, hey, man, it's your boy, Tim Castleman. I've been to the dark side and back, brother, and I'm here to tell you about it. I want to tell you about it real bad. What's up, everybody? Tim Castleman here with a very special break-in emergency edition of the Tim Talks podcast because I did ketamine. That's right. Yesterday I went down a K-hole, got all doped up with a local drug dealer, went and saw the moonbeam. What are you talking about, Tim? You did a therapeutic dose of ketamine that was recommended by your therapist, and you're going to do a podcast to talk about how you did it in a responsible manner. Of course, man, no one's going to expect me to be like, a doctor or anything. No one would be dumb enough to listen to me for medical advice and certainly not sue me in a Lubbock courtroom, man. That would be really great, bro. Okay, stop with that's annoying as shit. And this whole third person thing, we make far too many zeros in our account to be talking like this. And by that, I don't mean millions. I just mean straight zeros. All right, everybody, Tim Castleman here. Thanks for listening to the inner dialogue that was going on in my head until yesterday, until I felt the mountain, bro. Listen, I'm going to do this as a standalone podcast in terms of I'm going to include some stuff that if you're a frequent listener to Tim Talks, you will have heard about. If you're not, then you won't, and that's why I'm going to include it here. So let's start off. I actually made notes, ladies and gentlemen, and I asked some friends if they had some questions about what I did, and some people sent me some questions, so I'll answer those as well. Totally free, nothing to sell you. Don't have a course or a affiliate link or anything like that. Just have a small request for you at the end. So let's get back, let's get into it, right? Life for me is going okay, at least I think it is. Then 2017, my wife leaves me. 2018, my staff leaves me. 2019, I break up with a girl that I regret breaking up with and think I should have married. 2020, I have a court case against me for $300,000 that results in the loss of all of my business money taken before even the trial occurred, even after the judge awarded no attorney's fees. Short story long, I got the old hey there, how you doing right there, Fred, kissy no looby from the United States justice system, which I can't wait to pay back the next time I'm on jury duty for somebody that's like, I don't know, stealing freaking the newspaper in the morning. And I'd be like, put him to death. I sentence you to death. And they'd be like, Mr. Castleman, this is the pre-jury trial thing. Be like, death, Your Honor, death by 1,000 horses, stone that man. And be like, sir, it's a 78-year-old man who just forgot to pay his bill and is being sued in small claims court that ironically has a trial. Just go with it, ladies and gentlemen. It may be disassociating from all the drugs I did yesterday, man. So, needless to say, the last couple years of my life have been one just ginormous kick to the genital area on my body repeatedly. Just like, ayaka, 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 ayaka. For those of you old enough to remember, back to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where his sister thinks of robbers in the house, and the principal pops out, and then she pops out, and she just walk. I don't know why. To this day, that still makes me laugh every time that I see it. I think it's he's like, she's like, and then what just fucks his world up, right? I like how I wasn't trying to cuss and say that I was getting a kick to the old peener, but then I dropped the F-bomb. My bad. Try to do better on the next time, right? So life really sucked for me. Life was going really good until it wasn't. And when it went bad, it was just like, well, we're going to sink this bad boy. It's just like iceberg right ahead. And I was just like, go ahead. We'll just burn through it. I mean, I've seen Titanic. I know there's no possible way. What? We're taking water on at an aggressive rate? And it keeps getting more and more, and our battleship is being sunk. What is happening? So I did not take this laying down to a degree. Let me explain. When my biological father lost his job with one of the like McDonnell Douglas type companies, he worked for the aeronautical industry. From the outside in, what I remember from that was him sitting on the couch watching TV every day, waiting for the phone to ring. That wasn't true. He was doing stuff on his own that I wasn't seeing, but that's just the perception that I had. And it was an incorrect one, but it's one that I had. And this has always been my fear ever since 2017, that I would just be stuck doing the same thing. I would just kind of be incapacitated. Now, for most of 2017, I was. I mean, I went on antidepressants. That was just to help stay, keep me up past 8 o'clock at night. I was going to therapy weekly. I mean, I was doing everything that I knew about for my mental health at that time, right? I've tried a ton of shit. I've tried to do meditation, right? I've tried to do retreats. I've tried to do journaling. I've tried to do EDMR. At least I looked into it, and then COVID happened, and that didn't happen. I tried to run from my problems. I tried to drink my problems away. I tried to smoke my problems away. I tried to fuck my problems away, right? And I spent most of 2017 to 2021, 2022, like just numb, and slowly the boat is taking on water, but it's okay because it's only the third level steerage, fourth at the beginning, then the third, then the second. And then, you blink and you're like, oh shit, the water is up to the first cabin. Like, oh, what do you mean? I thought we weren't, I knew it was bad. I didn't realize it was this bad. And the whole point is that, I was doing everything. I tried photography. I tried a million hobbies. But I was just taking my anger out on the world. And I mean, shit was moving and progressing, and changes were happening. But, it was like making a mountain out of a molehill worth of progress. And that's the wrong way. But I mean, I was progressing, but it just felt like for a while there, it was just kind of stuck. And I know that's part of therapy, and you got to work through it and this and that, and I was doing it. I was doing all of it. And then it just wasn't going well. It just was not going well. And the final nail in the coffin was me losing the court case and being like, okay, well, now how am I going to make a living? Where's my personal property? How did I lose to a foreign country over a bad review of a product that I paid for and that I still attest to this day, because we never got a chance to present ourselves in court, that we were in the right and they were in the wrong. But regardless, after the justice system got done, giving me the old, hey, how you doing? My life was completely fucked, to the point that suicide was a real constant in my life and in my everyday struggles. Not necessarily that I wanted to kill myself every day, but it certainly wasn't something that didn't come up, or it's something, comedians joke about this shit all the time, so maybe I'm just supposed to be a comedian, but they're like, oh yeah, man, I think about killing myself 20, 30 times like a day. And I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe I'm not the only one that thinks that, where it's just like, I don't want to go out tonight. Maybe I just kill myself, And I make fun of it a little bit, or I keep it light here, but it was very serious. I mean, and it certainly wasn't over going out tonight, You lose your wife, you lose your status as a business owner, as a homeowner, you lose your income, you lose all of your beliefs about society and the right thing, and justice will prevail, and all the horse shit they feed you from childhood that, the legal system will take care of you. No, and my experience is different. And it just was a whole lot of reality shattering down around me. Plus, by the way, turns out that I don't make money for myself. I make money for other people, meaning that when I had a wife and I wanted to give her the best things possible, and I wanted to give her the best life possible, and we were together, it was like I was doing everything I could to give her everything that she wanted. Not because she asked for it, but because that's how I got motivated. And that's why when it's just me, I don't give a shit. I'm working on that, but it's just like, I don't want to be homeless, but the drive and determination haven't been there like it was when I was married. And that fucking sucked. So I think I started telling a few people, right? And if I didn't tell you, please don't take offense to it. I just didn't tell a lot of people. And it wasn't like, oh, this is the person I'm going to tell and not. I think I told one or two people that I was like, hey, I think I'm going to check out of this thing. I think on my birthday, I'm going to fucking check out of it. And I had every intention to. I was just like, a year from now to give me a time to do some stuff, get my shit together, get my affairs in order, just in time for me to, say deuces, I'm out of this thing. And I never came up with a plan, I'm supposed to say, right? It's not like I ever did the research, never, ever. But it was a real possibility. I mean, I told one or two people, I was like, hey, I'm just letting you know in advance, like, I'm out of here in about a year. So, don't be surprised when this happens. But yeah, I just kind of feel like if I can't get things better, that, it's going to be just terrible. So the good news is, obviously, because I'm recording this, that didn't happen. And that didn't happen for a couple reasons. One, I started kind of shifting my mindset and started thinking, well, what if I just accept that this is the best that it's going to get? Like, instead of expecting to get out of depression, what if I just expect my life to be like this for the rest of my life? Low energy, no motivation, internal self-doubt, hatred, all of the horribleness. But what if I just, instead of trying to change it, just accepted it and said, oh, fuck, okay, this is my new reality. And instead of being like, oh, I'm in such a bad place, being like, oh, this is the new, this is my new baseline. This is my new zero. So that was one of the things. The other thing was, and this was a totally random thing, was that I saw a mother post about her dead son on Facebook and post on one of his posts. And she said, no one's talking about you anymore. So, of course, I'm like, well, I'm curious about this Ricky Lake situation that's occurring on my timeline. So I click on that. By the way, whatever happened to Ricky Lake? I click on that, and then I start reading the post, and I go back, and I find where this dude dies. I don't know if he took his own life or died suddenly. I'm not going to judge, but the way I interpreted it, it seemed like he might have taken his own life. But still, regardless, when he died, everybody was sad. I can't believe it. Gonna miss you in heaven, bro, blah, blah, blah. But every post after that was his mom writing to him. And I just was like, oh, I can't do that to my family. It wasn't even me being gone. It's like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm gone, whatever. I'm out of the equation, fine, fuck it, All the self-hate and self-prophecy came true. It's like, yeah, I ended fucking penniless and homeless and disgraced and all of these things that I was throwing at myself. But when I saw that what his mother was going through, and I just thought, oh man, I can't put my parents through that. And I just thought, okay, well, this is as good as it's going to get, maybe things will change, but if not, we just kind of have to accept that this is where we're at. I mean, even my doctor was like, oh, some people, they're just, this is just what it is, they're melancholy their entire life. And I'm like, well, fuck, maybe that's me now. Maybe, sad boy season is a sad boy life. I don't know. But I was making progress in therapy. I went and saw my biological dad for the first time in 20 plus years. I was able to see progress in myself and all that, but I just felt like I was in the slow lane, right? I'd see people on Facebook, and I know comparisons of theft of joy, but we all do it, so go fuck ourselves, right? You see people that just seem to go through something monumental, and then 2 days later, they're like, well, that's okay. I love those kids, but the fact that they died tragically, that was Monday, today's Wednesday, and you're just like, how are you doing that? I'd had friends that have gotten divorced and remarried in the time that I just got fucking left. And I was like, how are you able to do that? 2 years after you divorce your husband, you're already remarried. I'd ask my ex-girlfriend that, wait, we broke up in February and you were engaged by December to somebody else. But I don't want her breaking any more or taking any more of my shit. So we're just going to let that village just peacefully coexist, right? Just build a fence around it. It'll be like an M. Night Shyamalan show. Like, there's a village in the middle of the woods. We don't acknowledge that it exists. Nobody knows that it exists. Just leave it alone. So 2022 comes, D-Day comes, and I decide, obviously before that, based on what I told you about, I wasn't going to do it. I was just like, oh man, I'm not going to do it. Maybe things will get better. Somehow miraculously something will change. Who knows? Woe is me. Eeyore, right? And I thought, okay, well, sad boy season's going into year 6. And I have felt a change before I did this treatment, okay? I have felt a change. I felt like, as weird as it sounds, like an unthawing or like an awakening. And the problem is I've been in hibernation the last 5 years, being sad boy. And now I come out and, well, the world hasn't been in hibernation. Everybody's been kicking ass and taking names. So dudes that, were nobodies or somebodies, and dudes that were somebodies are like some fucking buddies, right? And I'm sitting here with my pud in my hand going like, I feel a little bit better today. I'm working on my early childhood trauma release. That's good, right? I can take that to the bank, right? This was not in a good spot. Went on a trip earlier this year to a place, I don't know if we revealed it on the podcast yet, but I went and took a little trip, right? Had a great time on the trip. But while I'm taking a shower one night, the court case pops back into my mind. And suddenly I'm Perry Mason trying to fucking renegotiate and relitigate and all that. And, and then on the other end, I'm Magnum PI. And I'm like, all right, if I hire a team of hitmen from this remote island 90 miles off the coast of Florida that rhymes with Uba, if I were to get a hitman team, right, and we were to break into Fidel Castro's boat monument and then somehow get that operational and then float it back over to Mexico and then up through the playa and lake system all the way to where I could get it to Lake Allen Entry and then have these, hitmen go into town and execute my orders. Like, I wonder if I could do that. And I was like, well, that's weird that this is a thought that we're having 2.5 years after the court, 2 years after? Let's just say 2 years after the court case has been pretty much settled, and our grief and our anger, they're less than before, surely. But instead of a 10, they're like a 9. And I'm like, well, listen, it's taken me 5 years to get to the point where I feel like I'm kind of unthawing, and I can't afford financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually, if that's your thing. It's not really mine. I just can't afford to go on into another hibernation. This one will kill me whether I want it to or not. I will starve to death, literally, if I decide to take the next 5 years off and don't do anything like I have the previous 5. And it's not like I haven't done anything, but you know what I'm saying. We minimize the things and the efforts that we do thanks to the patterns that we learn when we're children. Yes. So I mentioned this to my therapist. She's a great therapist. Highly recommend therapy. The one thing I would tell you guys, if you get nothing from this, is that you need to talk to a therapist at some point. But I was already doing talk therapy and had been for damn near a decade, right? I was doing it half-ass, I think, before my wife left me. I was doing half-ass. I was just so busy. I was doing the best I could with the tools I had. But after she left, it was like, there's a fire here. And after I broke up with my girlfriend because I hadn't fixed the issues with my ex-wife, I was like, 5-alarm fire here. We need to address this stuff, right? So I was telling her, I was like, hey, fire broke out while I was in Cuba. Nothing to worry about, but it's just kind of annoying that that's still happening. And she was like, have you thought about doing ketamine therapy? That's where we're getting, ladies and gentlemen. Got to have the backstory so you understand where I'm coming from, right? And I was like, well, I've heard about it. But, ketamine therapy, that's for people that are like super depressed and serious, right? Those are like, is that for like rehab patients and stuff like that? And she goes, well, no, it just helps with therapy issues that maybe you're having a hard time dealing with through traditional therapy. And I was like, is that like the EMDR thing where you got to like tap your forehead 6 times on this side, that side? And she's like, no, this is a medical thing. And I was like, oh. Okay, so she recommended it to me, and then as soon as she did, my digital database that has been storing 60 hours of YouTube video per week for the last 5 years into it was like, hey, wait a minute. Didn't we see Neil Brennan do a whole series of podcasts with Joe Rogan about doing ketamine? And didn't we see this? And haven't we seen that? So I was intrigued. And then it just happened that even a little, dusty butthole of a city, Lubbock, Texas, I forget the comedian that called it that. He was Burt Kreischer's opener. He was hilarious. We weren't laughing like he wanted to. He goes, oh, don't make me start going in on your dusty butthole of a town. And we were just like, here we go. So I started doing research. But again, in the back of my mind, I was like, but this is for seriously sick people. Ladies and gentlemen, I had told people in my life that I wanted to end my life. I had set a date. I didn't have a plan because I wasn't going to need much of one to swallow every pill in existence, right? I was like, well, I don't know what the combination is going to do, but I know what a 2-gallon thing of, I'm going to go out right with a 2-gallon thing of Mountain Dew. Hate it, right? All the ice cream, so my stomach doesn't get upset, and then be like Pac-Man on pills. Allegedly. But I was like, but I don't need it. I mean, that's not seriously sick or anything. I mean, surely I'll be able to just white knuckle through this like I've done oh so well the last 5 years of my, So I go home, start doing some research, and I'll be damned. Everything I'm reading, everything I'm seeing, ketamine, miracle drug, miracle drug, miracle drug. Oh my God, it's the greatest, latest thing. So I'm like, well, I'll be damned. So I hit up the old local place here, De Novo, I believe is how I call it, therapy here in Lubbock, Texas. And I go, you know what? I'm interested. Fill out their little customer comment card, and that begins the process, right? Let me look at my notes here real quick. Just want to make sure I got everything. Yep. So, podcast listening, did YouTube and Google research. Doctors love it when you do that, right? And I started thinking about this like, oh, maybe this is the magic bullet. I do it. It fixes me. I do 6 treatments, and apparently it's a whole new world. Oh, my God, I can't believe it. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be awesome? Let's see. So I call the lady up. I say, here's who I am. Here's what I want to do. And she said, great, why don't you come in for a free consultation? Now, I'm a marketer, ladies and gentlemen, and I know ain't nothing free in this world. So I go in there with Sammy skeptical eyes, and I start listening, right? I got a tight grip on that pocketbook. I'm like, you ain't getting a dime out of me until you explain everything to me. And she goes, oh, that's fine. Here's what's going to happen. There's 2 courses of treatment, okay? Now, I went into this thinking I was going to have to do 6 treatments over 2 weeks for about $500 a pop. Pause. If you don't have the money, pause also for the dogs. Thanks, guys. Thank you, my therapy animals. Hey, I have a squirt bottle, and I will use it. You hear that, ladies? This is the type of foreplay you can expect. I have lukewarm tap water that I'm shaking to make you remind yourself to stop being an ass. Stop doing that. Thank you. Sorry, where were we? Oh, yeah, the rest of my life. So I was like, crap. Now, you're going to shit on the price. I get it. And guess what? Got more bad news for you. Insurance doesn't carry it. It's still considered an alternative form of healing medicine, at least here in the United States, as far as I understand. With my 2 hours of Google research, for the love of God, don't take any of my information as factual until you do your own research and talk to your own medical people and come up with your own medical advice and decisions, right? So I thought I was going to come in and do that. And I was like, okay, cool. So I sit down and I'm like, yeah, so I think I want to do the 6 treatments. It's over to, like I'm trying to give her the introduction thing. And she's like, oh, Ms. Kessman, no, I think you have us wrong. There's 2 forms of treatments you can do here. And there's no requirement for either one as far as number of sessions. You're not sort of required to do 6 within 2 weeks unless you want to, all of those things. So I was like, okay, cool. I was like, well, tell me about it. So she goes, okay, there is the regular IV treatment, and that's where they take you into a room, okay? It's just you by yourself. The place I was at, or I'm at and getting treatment at, has a really nice couch, and it has a really nice, comfortable recliner that you can lay in, or, sit in, lay in, whatever. They have a full medical staff there in terms of, I think they have a nurse practitioner on there. They also, like the lady I was talking to, she's an EMT. So they have medical stuff there. They hook you up. If you do the IV, they keep you monitored the whole time, your heart rate, your everything, just to make sure everything's looking good. And then you basically, they run the IV through you, the fluid and all that stuff. Your sessions go for about 2 hours total, but that's, startup time, the actual session itself, and then come down time. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. And I was like, so, like, do you give me a prompt? Is there a card I read? Like, how's the self-paced thing? And she goes, oh, you just kind of bring stuff that you want to work with. And I was like, okay, but I mean, like, do you give me a card or is there a cue? I mean, you got to snap your fingers. Am I watching a pocket watch? Like, what do I do there? And she's like, don't worry. The medicine will explain it all to you. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute, hold up. Like, we're in a professional office setting, right? I had to sign in for the wait list to get in here, There was a receptionist and it looked like a square tablet in this place to make payments. I'm not trying to get Moonbeam Starfish here. And she's like, no. She was just like, you'll understand. And they have to talk about it like medicine, right? It's for those of you on either coast, you're like, what are you talking about, old man? Do you realize in Texas, you still can't go into a water pipe shop and be like, oh, I like to buy that bong. They will kick you out. They won't let you even buy anything because you said, oh, it's drug paraphernalia. Not that it's a water pipe that we just keep. What I'm saying is Texas currently head up the anus, just looking around and be like, it's really dark up here. I don't remember having corn, right? So they have to be very specific about, oh, no, it's medicine. Can't talk about tripping balls, man, or getting me fucked up, It's got to be like, hey, how much of this medicine is going to get me fucking going? Not like that at all. And so I'm like, okay, well, that sounds okay, man. The medicine's going to explain it to me. Got it. She goes, then there's option 2. And I'm like, well, tell me about option 2. Is option 2 going to speak to me too? And she goes, well, that's where you do it with a therapist. And she kind of helps he or she, they, them, all the gender pronouns, right? It, bug, whatever. They help guide you through the session. And I was like, oh, I like that. Like when I bowl probably a 260 to 280 every time I bowl. And the reason why I get so high consistently is I have those little bumper things, the bumper rails that come down, so I don't get any strikes, right? So it's like, I put the bumper rail. Yes, I understand. I know I look like I'm not, dying. John Cena's not going to burst through that door here. There's no wish being granted today, but I still would like the bumper pads down so that, I can score all of this. Meaning that if I could have someone that was a licensed counselor, professional, et cetera, guide me through this, that's way better. Way better than just, oh, you know what? Why don't we just give you the key to Pandora's box? Click that bad boy open. You kick it. We stick it. Let's just see what happens. I was like, no. Now, little change. The one with the counselor is not done with an IV. It's done with a series of 2 injections into your arms. A few things you need to know about me, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to needles, I'm a hornet. Quack, quack, quack. Squeak, squeak, squeak. I'm a big old bitty titty baby, right? I'm just saying, right? I passed out giving blood recently, within the last 5 years. I'm a grown man. I'm 43 years old, damn it. And I'm still like, can you put a butterfly needle on that? And could I get a sucker at the end of this? Let me know I did a good job, okay? So she's like, look, the thing is with the IV is you get a smaller dosage in the bag, but you get it a lot more intense at one time. If you're on the bag and you're not enjoying the journey, we can, hit a few buttons and within 2 minutes you'll be out of it. If you're not enjoying the journey on the shot, we'll see you at the end and we'll help you get off the ride, type thing. So I was like, well, okay, all right. But that just sounded so much better to me. So the thing about that is you have to get a therapist to be able to do that. Luckily, there are people that, at least with De Novo, that work with them. So I was able to contact them. I reached out to like 2 or 3 therapists, and the one that responded first and was actually my first choice was the one I went with. Now, I went with her specifically because she's like probably 25, 26, 28 maybe at the most. And I wanted someone that was young, that understood about drugs, right? Not just from recent experience, but the fact that someone that like, hey, ketamine, like that's a viable option versus being like, them damn hippies over there, first we gave them alcohol, now they want that sticky of the icky, but I'll be damned if they're going to get this special K so they can go be druggies in the, it's like, okay, come on, but I get it. It is what it is. So I wanted someone that knew the experience and wouldn't give me that experience and would open to it. So it was a brief phone call with her, and then we said, okay, things are good. I like you. Doesn't sound like you don't like me. Let's set up for Thursday at like 3:00. all of this took probably a week and a half from my first, hey, how you doing? You should look at ketamine with my therapist to scheduling my first session. I wanted to have my first session done. It took me 2 weeks because my first session was the same day as my counseling. So it took me 2 weeks to get everything set up, and that's probably the fastest you could do it, right? It's not an emergency thing, and they tell you this is, you're going in there with this is the magic cure, and all of the stuff they share with you is like, this isn't magic. You still have to do the work. You should have a therapist outside of here. They were very open and honest in questions and all of those great things. But I was like, yeah, hey, I'm ready to go. They're like, well, if you want to think about it, I'm like, I don't need to think about it. I think I need to schedule an appointment. I'm ready to chase this dragon. So the day of, I booked it in the afternoon because they're like, you're going to feel a little loopy afterwards, and, you may be emotional, and you may not want to go back to work, and all of those things. And so I just said, you know what, I'll book it for the afternoon. That way, if I'm an emotional wreck, I can just be like, well, sleep's coming in 12 hours, and I'll be just fine. I'm looking at my notes here real quick, right? Oh, by the way, the thing with the therapist, that's called CAPS. Not with a C, by the way, like I was spelling it. She spelled it for me with a K, and I was like, ketamine. Makes a lot more sense than a C. And again, that CAPS is therapy assisted, and at least in my instance, it's 2 shots versus an IV. And the other reason why, because I hate needles, I was like, you don't have to draw an IV for that one? All right, I can take a little stick. Am I going to get a Band-Aid and a sucker at the end of this? So, talk with the therapist. I selected her in her studies, told you first session there. Okay, pre-treatment stuff, they don't make you do anything, right? They ask you not to eat 4 hours before because some people do get nauseous on this stuff and they don't want you to hurt that, right? And they ask you not to drink anything, especially if you're going to do the IV, because then you'll have to go pee, and you don't want to have to try and pee on this stuff. It just doesn't. They'll help you. You'll do it, but it's not going to be like, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be people involved. Someone's going to be holding your wee-wee, maybe, possibly. I don't know about that. That didn't happen to me. I'm just imagining how I felt at the end of my session, like trying to get up in the middle of that and be like, I have to pee. It wouldn't have been good. So they one of the things they do talk about from your initial consultation and all that stuff is, what's your intention? What's your goal? What's your intention? What's the goal of this? What do you intend to get out of this session? So I did some pre-work just kind of thinking about that. And I did a little bit of journaling, right? I had a little chamomile tea, right? I can't say that. You know what I'm saying. I sat down to pee, and I was like, oh, this is so great. I didn't do any of that. I did write down some thoughts. And I was in a real dark place the few days before, like just sad and lack of sleep and emotional and all of those good things. And I was just like, okay, well, you know what? I just want it to give me 100% complete self-love, or it can explain to me what I want to do by the end of the session. Nothing. It's my first treatment, my first session. It can pick either or brain. You tell me what you want to do, right? I'm just laughing because I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. The one thing she did ask to bring is that I brought a coin to ground me. The problem is I have 2 silver dollars, okay? So 2 silver coins, excuse me. One is from Kelly Felix and the Rich Jerk that has the Rich Jerk guy on there. It's like, I'm rich and better than you. And the other one is from my friend Brad, and it's got a marijuana leaf on it. And I'm like, both of these are beautiful and ceremonial, and I will treasure them forever, but these can't come out into the public. So instead I grabbed my $1 puka shell necklace I got off some homeless dude in the Dominican Republic, I'm sure. Intention of the session, food and water, the coin. Then that's just to help you ground in case you get way out there. You can grab it and basically it'll recenter you and be like, hey, you're on solid ground here. You're okay, buddy. Everything's going to be just fine. As far as friends and family, I didn't really talk about it ahead of time because I didn't really want to get a lot of input. So I didn't tell anybody, with the exception of a few people like the day before. I was like, hey, by the way, I'm going to be out tomorrow. I'm doing this ketamine therapy. But I was like, I wasn't trying to get a consensus. At this point, it's like, dude, I'm throwing everything at this mother trucker, trying to beat it. Trying to beat my head back into a happy place or something. I need to do something. What I'm doing is not working. It sucks. Please forgive, all of the things. So that takes us to the pre-session and our first sponsor of the day. There is no sponsor of the day. That's a joke. Funny, ha. But I have decided I am going to light up a cigar. Now you may go, well, why are you doing that, Tim? Because it makes me happy. It makes me happy, and that's why. So there's talking off mic. Oh, there we go. I wasn't a cigar smoker before, man. Once I got that devil's juice in me, I just couldn't say no. This will be good for the resale value of this house. Not nearly as exciting when I light other things, I know. All right, so let's get into it. Here we go. So I show up the day of. I'm wearing relaxed clothes, right? Because they want you comfy. I got a short sleeve shirt on and a hoodie because they're going to want to, shoot the largest pythons in the world up with hopefully HGH, steroids, and ketamine. I was like, can we do a stack of all of those at once? And they're like, no, sir, we can't. And remember, it's medicine. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. So they do a medical check. It's nothing crazy. It's your usual physical. They're like, we have to do a physical. I'm like, you gonna touch my balls? Like, I'm thinking, did I wash my balls? I did wash my balls. I didn't want to. Okay. I was just like, okay, well, yeah, sure. I was like, but it's nothing like that. It's just, height and weight. How's your sleep habits? How's your food and alcohol? How, mental health. It's just a pre-screener to make sure there's not anything crazy that they need to be worried about, like high blood pressure, diabetes, things of that nature. If you have that stuff, I'm pretty sure they can still work with you. But again, for the love of God, do not take my advice as being medical advice. Do your own damn Google search like I did. So, this is done by the nurse practitioner. I can't remember. They gave me drugs yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. I have the perfect memory. She does her med check, and she's like, look, your psychologist is going to come in. You guys are going to discuss medical dose amounts, and I'm going to come in, shoot you up with 30 on one side, and then come back in later and shoot you up with another 20. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. So that's all she says, 30, 20. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, great. So my psychologist comes in, same lady I've been talking to, everything good, got any questions, anything like that? Nope. And I'm like, hey, what about the dosage? I'm like, what is the dose, and like, what's the max dose? Because I'm just curious, right? I'm sitting here and I want to know, is this where everybody starts? Is this the beginner dose? Is this like you're a chunky monkey in dose? Can I go up to 100, 500? What's the deal? So she has to go, I feel bad. She has to go get the nurse back. And I'm like, I didn't want to do this shit. I just wanted like you to lie. You could have lied to me, but like, I don't know, 50, 75. Oh, okay. I wouldn't even know. At this point, I didn't even know. Are we 50 cc's, milliliters, milligrams, grams, gallons? What, I don't know how, what is going on as far as the dosing amount. I know the amount, but I'm just saying, like, so she brings the lady in and she goes, yeah, I understand you have a question about the dosing. Again, she can't ask that because we have to be professionals, and we're professionals here because it's a professional office and experience, and it's medicine. It's medicine. So I'm like feeling really terrible about everything. So I'm like, hey, quick question. Could you just take a syringe, fill it all the way full of the good stuff, and hook me up to an IV and just give it to me at the same time so we can just go in there and get this done with? And the two ladies just look at each other, and my therapist is like, oh my. And I was like, guys, that's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. Ha ha, funny, funny. No, ha ha, funny, funny. These fuckers are serious. Not as serious as the pain in my back, but serious. Oh, Daddy's standing. Oh, Daddy's standing. There you go. Okay, so I'm like, yeah, hey, 30, 20, and I'm like, well, what happens if this doesn't work? And she goes, oh, sir, well, we'll be monitoring you, and I'll come in, and after I give you the 20, if it's not working, she goes, I'll just come back in and give you a little bit more. And I was like, okay. And she goes, but just to let you know, that's never happened. And I was like, oh, like never? And she's like, never. And I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to be exceptional in this need, so all right, let's do it. So they're like, okay, great. Now you get comfortable, right? You're all in your clothes, and you don't change out to medical shit. You take your shoes off if you want to. I lay on the couch. They give you an eye mask. That's critical. Blocks out the sun and the lights and whatever else is in there. It wasn't the sun. They blocked out the overhead lights in this office building. Well, they open the windows. Can you see the sun? No, look directly at it. Can you see it? No, I can't. All right, good. But they do. They make sure, okay, you're not seeing any lights around here. We'll dim the lights a little bit. Everything groovy, everything good. And I'm like, yeah. She goes, all right, cool. Well, here we go. And she puts on a playlist. I'm sure it was Spotify. But the music, she's like, the music's very important. Some people see it. Some people taste it. Some people feel it. And I'm like, bitch, you crazy. This medicine you speak of is going to have me all, mashugging it up? No, I don't think so. So she gives me the injection, and I'm like, she knows I've told her. I'm like, I don't even come needle and all. She does not one damn shit. She's like, all right, here we go. Pinching that. Here we go. Deep breath, little pinch, and we're done. And I'm like, ow, damn. I'm like, that. I know it's intermuscular, but she didn't have to hit the biggest, sorest one, apparently, right? And then the walls start moving. No, kidding. It's not that. It's not instant. I was expecting it to be like anesthesia. I was thinking, oh, man, it's going to be like, countdown from 10, 9, It's not like that at all. It's like, okay, cool. Gave you the shot. Lay down if you want to be comfortable. Are you comfortable? Great. All right. Just want you to focus on your breath. And they do this real calm breathing exercise. It just gets you to focus on your breath. Now, what you don't know and what this doctor didn't know is that I got a little trick card, a little surprise in my file, which I didn't tell nobody because I didn't want I didn't want to be gamed. Is that I'm a hypnotist, baby. Now I haven't done it in 10 years and probably suck at it now, but I know all the tricks. I know how to control the mind. Not really. But it was funny because it was like I want to do a breathing meditation. I was like, oh, I know this trick. I know this one. Am I going to start clucking like a chicken or feeling like I orgasm every time something shakes my hand? Am I going to think I have the world's smallest penis and I'm naked in front of like the Hawaiian volleyball team? I don't know. Those were my shows. Maybe those were my, experiences in childhood. Maybe they were different for you. But I was like, oh, this feels very much like, okay, they want to get you into a little meditative state. And I'm like, whatever. Like, meditate this, right? Like, this medicine sucks. Like, I fucking knew it. I knew it, right? Like, it's not going to work for me. Of course it's not going to work for me. Everyone's talking about this life-changing experience, and I can clearly hear this chick talking, and she's getting annoying because she's talking, and I'm trying to get in the moment, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it to come. I'm like, okay, well, hit me with it. Hit me with it. Hit me. Come on, hit me. Shut up. Hit me with it, and we're doing the whole deal and all that stuff, and I don't know time because obviously I've got the mask on and all that, but what seemed like 4 or 5 minutes later, it was like, hey, that's a little weird. Huh. When did all these stars start showing up? Huh. Look at that. Even some more stars. Wow. It's crazy how the sky's all dark and there's stars here. And, is that like a gust of wind rolling through the cloud? It felt like I was watching a TV. Not even a TV. It felt like, I felt like it was like on a big screen and I was just watching it. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. All right. Felt safe, secure. I knew where, it's weird because it was like I knew where I was. I knew what was going on the whole time. There wasn't ever a time where I was like, I don't know where I am, man. But it just feels like, that you're super close to watching something. Like, just imagine that you're at the front row of a movie theater because that's kind of what it's like. You're like, oh, this is cool. This is all right. And then she's, this is why, to me, you need the guided person. Because if it was just me, I'd just be out here cruising, chilling, been like, oh, that's cool. Look at that snake over there and all, But then she does the little meditation and we're breathing. And so tell me what you see. Well, it's weird. I got some stars. Looks like some wind. I can see the wind. That's a little interesting. But yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's not. Again, I'm not on cloud 9. I'm not, so high that I'm forgot everything. Like I'm ready to battle this dragon, this demon, whatever, and I'm out here in the kiddie pool being like, is this 2 feet of water or 1 foot? Because I was thinking it was going to have a deep end, and you're telling me this is just a wading pool. Oh, okay. All right. And she's like, well, I want you to just imagine, and I'm trying to remember this as best as I can. You guys got to remember, I was given ketamine, okay? So a lot of people don't keep their memories. I felt like I have a pretty good memory of yesterday. I also have a recording of yesterday, which is when I did the treatment. I'm not going to include that on here. There's no fucking way I would ever subject myself to that or you to that. But I will probably go back and listen to it and get a better time frame. But like I said, about 5 minutes in to after I've gotten the shot and everything's starting to be just groovy, nothing bad, nothing like, I don't feel whacked out or anything strange or, oh my God, there's no screaming, anything. It's just like, okay, cool. And she's like, well, I want you to imagine a place. And I'm like, oh, all right. And she's like, I don't know, just like a place that's calm. And I was like, oh, another hypnosis trick. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to paint a calm picture in my head. So I'll help you out here, sis. I got you. I'll tell you what. I imagine I'm at the beach right now. And it's a beautiful beach, and it's sunny overhead, and the waves are just gently caressing over the top of my feet. I already know it, baby. Stage hypnosis. You ain't getting into this brain, this Fort Knox of ineptitude. You are not breaking through. I will do that, and I will imagine that hey, it's cool. We have a scene change. Oh, shit, I'm at the beach. That's weird. I could have swore it was just stars a moment ago. Oh, so I'm actually feeling like I'm at the beach. Okay. I can feel a little bit of the warmth of the sun. Yeah. I can feel the coolness over my feet. They're also in socks and covered up in a blanket. Oh, that's cool. Okay. All right. We'll just enjoy the sights and the sounds, right? This is where they fucking trick you. Because you're like, oh, this is cool. I like this ride. It's so crazy. We just left the dock just a moment ago, and it's almost like it's like a straight up, but it doesn't feel like it's straight up. Everything feels safe and secure, and I'm sure nothing bad is around the corner. Foreshadowing, right? I'm sure nothing drastic is about to change or anything like that. So she's like, are you there alone? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And then I'm like, well, wait, hold on. Let me look around. Now, look, I've never done VR. I'm not saying this is how VR was, but it felt like if I had done VR, this is what it would be like. Like I was just looking around. I was like, all right, it's me in the scene. Cool. And she's like, is anybody else there with you? And it's like, I look down to my right, and it's almost like on a video game where player 2 enters the game. And I think I might even said that now that I think about it. I'm like, oh, hey, player 2's coming. Cool. Because I'm so fucking righteous. And it was like, pick your own character. And I don't remember the other characters, at least I didn't at first. But what popped up was my dog, Ricky. Now, right now, you're going, wait a minute, Tim. You're telling me 2 minutes ago you saw the stars that were out big and bright in the Texas sky. Now you're on a remote beach. I'm going to guess it was remote, where the sun is beating down on you and the waves are over there. And now your West Highland Terrier dog, Ricky, that wasn't even your dog, it was your ex-wife's dog, is here with you. And he's alive, and he hasn't been alive since a week before your wife left you. Wow, that's weird. And she was like, and I was like, oh, it's like, I felt it. Like I felt like he was there. I was like, oh my God, it's good to see you. I miss you, all of these things. By the way, possible. I don't know what's going to happen recounting all of this stuff. So if I get emotional, just work with me. Okay, and I'll try and do my best to bite my lower lip and just push that shit down so I can get that massive heart attack at 62. Cigars, phenomenal, by the way, phenomenal. So there's my good boy, Ricky. Oh my God, I haven't seen you since you died, and obviously, right? And she's like, is Ricky saying it to you? And I remember just stopping for a second. You know that little ether you're in right before you go to sleep? And you hear something on TV or something startles you awake, and you're just like, wait, I couldn't have just heard that. And when she said, is that dog saying anything to you? All I could think of is like, no, he's a fucking dog. Of course he's not saying anything to me. Why would that dog say anything to me? And as I turned back, right, in this dream, I didn't say that to her, but I was just like, no, he's not saying anything to me because I'm muddling under my breath because he's a fucking dog. If you think dogs are talking, maybe you're on the medicine. Maybe I'm the sober one between the two of us. I don't know. I do know I was not the sober one between the two of us. So I turned back, and we got a scene change again. Now it's just me and Ricky, and I'm like holding him by his 2 legs. I almost said 2 arms. That would freak you non-dog lovers out there, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like holding him somehow, some way. Or maybe we're playing together. I don't remember the exact detail of it. But the scene has gone completely black and dark. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. That doesn't seem ominous at all. This is the part where the roller coaster starts, click, 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 and you're like, oh, looks like we have just a little bit to go, and then, I don't know, the track stops way up here at the top. I wonder what's going to happen next. So I'm talking to Ricky, because dogs apparently talk in this fantasy world of this chicks, right? And I just start saying, I am so sorry. And the reason I say that is because as I physically pinch my nipple to prevent myself from crying, right? So I'm just like, he died of Westie lung disease, which unfortunately is something that happens to Westies comes on very suddenly. There's no cure for it, and it kills them. And it's exactly what happened to Ricky. And I felt so terrible about it because, like, we'd spent every dollar we could. I was just, no amount of money is not being willing to be spent to keep him alive. And we just couldn't do anything. We could not do anything. It just, the decision was out of our hands. He has this Westy lung disease, and within 48 hours, he was dead. Devastated. We don't have kids. We didn't have kids. I don't have kids. I don't know about her. These were our children. And for people that don't understand it, I get it. You don't get it, but we do. And I just kept apologizing and saying over and over again, I'm so sorry. I did the best that I could. Or, we did everything that we could. Or, just, and when I'm saying looping, like I'm talking about now where you see in the movies where they got the crazy person, I'm talking about that type of looping. Like, I'm so sorry, we did the best that we could. I'm so sorry, right? And I am starting to bawl hysterically. Now, I want you to understand something, folks. I'm in a private room. All I have is my therapist with me. That's it. So you're not on display. No one gives a shit. No one knows. They've got a huge soundtrack going that's covering whatever's going on in the room. Plus they have white noise and all that stuff. And it cost me $350 to do this treatment. I was not coming to fuck around. We were coming to find the devil. I show up and I'm like, ollie, ollie, oxen free. I don't know. I heard that somewhere years ago, right? Like, come on out, bitch. I can handle this, right? And then he was like, oh, I see a newcomer's talking shit. I'm going to go down and say hello or go up, depending on how you believe, right? So I just start hysterically crying and apologizing over and over and over and over to my dog, who wasn't even my dog, who, of course, I was devastated, but I logically understood what happened. Like, it wasn't anything that we did. It just sucked, Life just kicking me. That was just the start of the roller coaster in my life, and I guess also in the session. So I'm crying. The other thing, weird as shit, like I'm not like a snot crier or anything like that, but my nose just is like, oh, can we go full faucet on here? So 10 minutes into this thing, 15 minutes, I don't know, let's say it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'm sobbing hysterically to my dead dog from 2017 that still isn't fucking talking to me yet, despite my therapist's recommendation, and I'm waterboarding myself with snot, right? I'm like, and because I got the mask on and I'm dizzy and all that, they're just like, look, keep the mask on. If you need anything, let me know. And I'm like, she gives me one tissue. I just freaking, okay, next one. I mean, I've got like a little pile of dead soldiers all over my chest, and not the way that, used to like to give them back in college. Hey-oh! I was married in college. I don't know what that was talking about, but some of you guys had cool lives, and you do. So there's Ricky, and I'm like, oh, shit. So this is going on, right? And I felt bad about it. I'm so sorry, and I'm looping over, waterboarding myself, trying to irrigate my nose so I, can get the snot out and all that stuff. And again, I feel totally safe. I'm not fearful. I'm not afraid. Just this overwhelming sense of grief just came out to me, right? And then she's like, so lets me have my moment for however long it is. Feels like it was only 2 minutes, but it could have been 20, And then she's like, okay, so what's happening now? And I'm like, in the story, I look over to her, and then I look back over, and I'm like, well, that's weird. Now Ricky's gone. And my biological dad is here. Well, what could be the connection to those two? What would my dog have anything to do with my biological dad that I didn't speak to in like 20 plus years? Oh, maybe I have some guilt about that. And sure as shit, right? As soon as my brain made that connection, we were right back into, if you've ever watched Game of Thrones, Hodor, if You know that whole story? That's what I felt like was happening to me. I was like, oh, this is apparently something that has been playing, in my mind on repeat for the last 6 years, because that's all I could get. I'm so sorry. I apologize, And it wasn't even I apologize. It was like, I'm so sorry I did the best that I could. I'm so sorry that I could do the best that I could. I'm so sorry that I can, I'm doing the best that I can type thing. And we're doing good. Well, I'm like, well, this is weird. I wonder what, and my brain starts making the connection, and I'm like, okay, all right, well, like I get it. Like, it's weird. And then I'm just kind of like there, and then the lady goes, Mr. Castleman. I'm like, yeah. She goes, we're about to administer the second shot. And I'm like, oh, okay. So she rolls up my left arm and freaking darts me again. And I'm like, cool, all right. Well, I was like, look, this is a cool little roller coaster that I'm on. I can see the entrance. I can see the exit. I'm just on this little roller coaster thing, and she gave me the shot. So I guess we're going to go on a little bit longer and all that stuff. And then, hey, why is the room turning all red with these bright, luscious red colors? Like fire engine red, like that dark red, It's like, oh, that's beautiful. It's like old gold plated looking, not plated, but old gold looking, worn gold, I guess you could say, versus the new shiny. I was like, whoa, this is interesting. All right, so now I'm not seeing the music, but I'm definitely seeing the sounds and the sights, and it's a little brighter, and it's a little like, okay, all right, cool. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I'm like, now, I was like, if you were here, and she's like, I want you to imagine I'm there with you. I was like, it's crazy to explain. There's like mountains. It looked like Utah or some shit, where it was like deserty and all. I'm like, this is just weird. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I can see the entrance. I can see the exit of this roller coaster ride. And then hey, wait, what the fuck? Like that movie of Get Out, where he drops down the level. It wasn't like that, but there definitely was a part where I just felt like I sunk down to the next level. And I was like, oh, there's another level. Guys, I don't know if you know, there's a level below ground floor we can go. Yeah, let's do that. That shot did that for me, put me down there. And I was like, oh, shit. And I remember telling my therapist a couple funny things during this experience, because I can't be serious all the time, right? That's why I got to take a cigar break right now, even though I'm talking to the microphone. I can't be serious 100% of the time. It's just too awkward to be 100% serious. So the floor drops out. Again, I feel safe, secure. I know I'm good. Like, I don't ever feel like I'm out of control. It's just like, whoa, hey, all right. Party intensified a little bit. Turned up that music, young, and I hear you. So I feel like I dropped down a little bit, and I'm just like, oh, shit. So I'm like, oh, man. And I tell my therapist, I'm like, I get why people do this. I was like, I'm fucking high. And she just laughed. And my favorite thing to do is make people in clinical situations and like that just bust up hysteria. I'm like, you fucking want to laugh. I will break you. I will keep firing one-liners at you until you break. So I'm like, okay, all right, well, we're deep here. We're deep. No more wading pool. Oh, we're up to our chest in water. Nothing like that, but you get my point. I could definitely tell. Like, when the second one hit, I was like, I get what she means. Yeah, I'm not going to be needing a third. I feel like I'm good here. So I'm like, well, okay. I'm like, I totally see why people are doing this. I'm high. And I feel good, and it's beautiful, and the sun is not out, but it's this dark red, and then it's gold, and then we're in a mountain, or in a desert area with mountains and a beautiful black sky, and that's awesome, and then everything turns black again, and I'm like, why is that happening? And then I look over, and I'm like, hey, Dad, hey, man, like drunk guy come up to sober guy almost, be like, hey, dude, hey, I'm sorry, I did the best that I could. Loop over again. And I'm like, oh shit. And like, I'm like, wow, okay, this. And she's like, okay, is anybody else there? And I'm like, we just unlocked player 3. I don't like player 3. Player 2 was my dog. I was loving him, missing. I'm sorry, buddy. Rub your belly. Throw the ball a couple times. Love you, miss you. Hope to see you again. Then player 3 is going to be my dad? Who the fuck do you got for the special guest referee? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, hi. Hi, my ex-wife. Hey, I'm so glad I could pay $350 for you to appear in this. Did you show up because it cost so much or because you wanted half of it? I don't know. That's a joke. You're here. Wow. That's crazy. I wonder if I'm saying I'm so sorry, I did the best that I could to the dog, and then I say that to my biological father, despite the fact that we haven't talked in 20 years, and then my ex-wife shows up, what do you think I'm trying to say to her? I can't explain to you. Actually, I can't explain to you. The last time I cried that intense, that hard, that long, that thick, Tim, we're talking about Christ here, sorry, back at it, that long was when my wife and I talked about separating after she'd already left and got an apartment and her own accounts, and basically we were divorced on everything but paper. And she's like, do you think we might want to get this thing back together? And I'm like, what? You mean the thing you've been gone for 6 months and I've already told everybody in my world and online that you've left me and you just think we're going to... Anyway, long story short, short story long, you take it, whatever you want. Like, that's the last time I remember crying this, like, visceral cry. Like, I can't explain it to you. It was a feeling. And I was like, oh, the last time I felt this much grief was when we decided that things were too far broken and beyond repair than to fix it, and to stick together. So, yeah, I'm trying to keep it light so that I don't burst out in tears on you guys. But, I mean, it was ridiculously emotional. And I thought, oh, okay, all right, well, hey, we're over the hump of this thing, and we're traveling pretty fucking fast, it feels like to me, down this thing. I mean, there's got to be an area where we're just going to pull up slowly and, get right into the end, right? Right? Fellas, anyone? Oh, no. We went even deeper with the ex, right? I'm sobbing. I'm still crying, right? And then it's like, well, okay, why do you feel like that, Tim? Well, I feel like that because I'm a failure. I'm a worthless piece of shit. I've deserved everything that happened to me. I haven't paid enough penance. I don't deserve good things in my life. I don't deserve good mental health. I mean, it was just like, it was asking a Jeopardy question or a Family Feud question and it was like ding, 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 ding. I was like, oh, shit. This is some wild ass stuff that is occurring. It's the nicest way I could say it. Again, feeling completely safe, feeling calm. Like I was emotional, but it wasn't like I was like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. It was just like, it was a visceral, from the soul type crying. So the same lady who asked me just what felt like 2 seconds ago, which I know was probably 30 minutes or an hour ago, does your dog talk to you? Goes, well, Tim, is there a place you could imagine right now in your brain that you feel like you're enough? And my brain was like, do, clicky, 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 clicky. Yes, there is. She goes, well, why don't you tell me about that? And I was like, okay. I've been doing a lot of research lately because, we're doing this ketamine therapy. And one of the things they also talk about is the psychedelic use of mushrooms. And I've been doing some research on that, never done it. Still to this day, I haven't done it, right? Not sure if I plan to do it or not, but I was just kind of curious. Well, apparently that's that little thing in the brain. Because when she was like, tell me a place where you feel like you're enough, I'm like, this is going to sound really weird, but I'm like a tiny Honey, I Shrunk the Kids version of a dude in a mushroom field. And I got big, beautiful mushrooms over here, and the grass is really green, and it's, looks like Mario Kart mushroom, just like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but that's where I feel like I'm okay. And she was like, so what would you say there in a situation like that? And I just start saying, I love you. 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 And she was like, so let's say that there's a little boy crying and saying, I'm so sorry. I've done the best. I did the best that I could. Ladies and gentlemen, quick aside, when I say I have vice grips on both my nipples right now, I'm figure fouring these motherfuckers so that I don't just go boo hoo in here. I mean, these bad boys are gonna need a night off and hazard pay for what I'm doing to them right now. I like to use humor in moments of seriousness because I can't stand it being serious for that long. So I'm in a mushroom patch 1 second. Now I got an outline. It's a weird thing. I got an outline of hello NSA and anyone that's about to be listening to this podcast in 30 seconds. I have an outline of a little boy, me as a small child, by the way, before any watch list get added to or approved or any files get generated. So I've got me. And then I've got me again here. Just the outline. I mean, I don't know. I assume it's me. I'm not randomly thinking of small children that are crying hysterically, being like, I'm sorry, I tried everything I could. Be like, shh, don't tell your mom. Here's $5. No, these are me. So I got one of me that is crying. I'm so sorry. I did the best I could. I did everything I could. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I deserve all this. Then I got someone else that's like, I love you. Haven't I been punished enough? I love you. Haven't I been punished enough? I love you. I love you. I love you. And when I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I physically hugged myself during this part, I am 43 years old. I'm waterboarding myself with the amount of tears and snot that my face is producing. I'm on my second packet of tissues. They're double billing me at this point for it. I've got an outline in my head of me and me, one of me yelling and screaming about, not even yelling and screaming, just apologizing. And then the other one trying to comfort it so much that my physical manifestation is me hugging myself, saying, I love you regardless. I love you regardless. I love you regardless. And it was just like, it's hard to explain, but there was part of me that was like, I'm a fucking failure. I'm this, I'm all of these things. And then the other part of me was like hugging me, being like, shh, I love you. I love you regardless. It was like a parent to a child who is trying to reassure their child that no matter what, they still love them. I have a knife to one of my boobs at this point. It's getting so emotional. I mean, no sharp weapons, right? But it was deep. I was like, okay, all right, okay, Again, feel totally safe, feel fine, feel totally in control. Just having this extremely therapeutic podcasting session, also known as podcasting session. Sorry, my brain just wavered there. Yeah, I'm having a podcast. I'm recording everything and being like, so, Trish, what do you think, right? I'm having this incredible therapy session, this breakthrough, which the medicine has allowed me to be emotional and vulnerable and feel safe and secure. And with her gentle prods and question asking, able to kind of help me reshape what she needs to and see, and all of these things culminating in this experience. And now I'm hugging myself physically, while in my mind I'm hugging myself emotionally. And oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, things start evening out. The descent to the depths starts pulling up, and we slowly and gradually just regain a natural cruising altitude where we're just calm. We understand what's gone on. We remember everything. This is just off mental memory that I can remember from yesterday. But we're not emotional about it. So as we pop back up into the world, she does another little meditation to help bring me out. By the time that she's done with that, I can tell the medicine's pretty much completely, if not all, worn out. I take off my mask, keep the eyes shut for like a minute or two because you're supposed to. When I take the mask off, I literally pour like tears, like puddled tears. I pour them all over myself, not even realizing that's what happened. I just thought, I don't know, you rain 2 gallons of tears in an hour, that your body would naturally reabsorb that. Apparently, I was wrong. I failed that lesson too. You get out of it, You feel totally fine and normal. Not dizzy, but you're like, oh, those lights are still flickering a little bit. That's fun. They bring you a little glass of water. You sit up. And then what I like is they do a little debrief. Okay, well, here's what I found. Or here's what stuck out to me from your session. Now, if she was my full-time therapist, I think we could have gone even deeper. But because she's not, she's basically there to just observe the session and be like, if you have any questions, talk to your everyday therapist. So I have a pre-existing therapist. That's why it has to be like that. If you don't have that restriction. But she gave it to me. Not going to share those with you. I'm going to share that with my therapist. Super personal stuff. But at the end of it, like I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to go home and be like super emotional. This is going to flare back up. I'm going to think about it again, and I'm just going to be in the fetal position and all that stuff. And none of that happened. I went to dinner with my friend who picked me up. Nothing happened there. I came home. I was expecting to come home and be like, I got to get into bed and watch something funny and really watch my mental health, and I'm going to be all crazy state and a fluctuation up and down. None of it. None of it. It literally was like, you come, you have the experience, and then you leave. No lingering effects. I didn't wake up today with like a hangover or feeling like crap or anything like that. I feel a little calmer overall. And I definitely feel more at peace, especially with the information that came up and the way I was able to at least mentally resolve and forgive myself for some serious grief that I've been holding on to. So you may be going, well, Tim, are you going to do this again? Yes. Yes, I am. Just want to make sure, by the way, I'm looking here. Starting to fade, coming out of it. Yep. So felt a little loopy for like 30 minutes after, 15 minutes afterwards. They don't want you to drive home. I felt like I could have driven home, whatever. Yeah, driven, whatever home with no issues, but I didn't. I felt tired, calm, relaxed. No really emotional outbreaks or anything like that. Didn't shed a tear afterwards. And I feel normal 24 hours later. I am so grateful I did the caps versus the IV because I needed someone to help guide me through that. I want to do this again because it's kind of like, okay, well, you need to break up this tissue. Right now I've done it. Now I go to my regular traditional therapist and I go, hey, went and did this thing. Here's the report card they gave me. Let's talk about this stuff and really do the work behind it. I would highly, highly, highly encourage you, if you're going to do this, don't wait till you have a therapist. But if you have a therapist, or thinking about, like, get them both at the same time so that you can, have someone there to kind of walk through that. And that's why, again, I preferred to walk through than do it yourself, because it's like, if I had done all that shit on my own without any prodding, I don't know if I would have done it. And she mentioned it. She goes, you responded really well to the medicine. And she goes, and you really worked on some heavy stuff. She goes, this was an amazing session. And I was like, I didn't realize I was going to grade it. And she goes, no, I bet you could probably tell. And this is true. Like, you can tell, like, after a couple, oh, the sky turns to black. You're like, oh, shit. Okay. And you can kind of be like, I want to deal with that. Or you could even be like, oh, hey, let's go back to that, Tahiti Island that was so beautiful and all that stuff. And I paid the money. I came to do the work. It was like, lean into the darkness so that we can get this stuff out. Do I think traditional talk therapy would help? Yes. Do I think I would be able to have this emotional breakdown without resisting every part of it? I mean, I can't even retell the story without putting my nipples in a camel clutch. Do you think I'm going to be able to tell my therapist, like, what the hell are you doing to yourself? And be like, I just want to tell you about my childhood, but in order to do that, I've got to tie my two titties together. So I'm eligible to do it in about 2 to 3 weeks again. I think I could do it faster if I wanted to. And I may do it again just to kind of, let's get some more shit out of there. But like the therapist that, guided me through the session said, hey, this is going to produce some stuff for you. It's okay to go off, work on that stuff, and then come back and be like, all right, well, I'm ready for more stuff. She goes, you don't want to like overload yourself with 50 things at once. And I was like, oh, well, that's a good point. It's a good point there. So I asked some friends some questions, or if they had questions about this. Some people sent it to me, and I want to make sure that I answer those, okay? So give me a second here. If you don't mind. All right. How was it? Worth the experience? Yes, it was. Okay. The only thing I want you to know is Does it feel like it could lift some sort of depression? So I don't have this like huge euphoric, oh my God, I feel totally better. I think if I did the IV, in the sessions that they're, the 6 sessions in 2 weeks, yeah, I think it could. I'm not interested in the IV. Again, I'm interested in going in and like, let's surgically remove the cancer or the bad parts or whatever pops up. Like, let's open to it. I think it helps for sure. I mean, I've just exposed a major area in my life. I've grieved it. I've done the grieving thing there. I think it will overall help my overall mood, but I wouldn't say it's going to be a one-to-one. It's like, hey, we push this boulder a little closer to the cliff, but you still have to do the work to get it over there. But, this is a cliff I've been trying to get over for the last 5 years, and I feel like I made major movements. It wasn't like, oh, just a little, okay, one step at a time. This was like, we got a truck in and we're going to haul this thing practically, right up to the part where you just got to come in and do the last 10% and push the thing over there. So that's that. And then let me see if there's someone else there. Overall, what would I think the treatment's like? I never felt unsafe. I never felt like I was out of control. I felt like I was having a deeply emotional experience, but I knew exactly what was going on. I knew I had someone to help me at all times. The price sucks, but, so does losing everything in your life and the will to live and the desire to live and the feeling like, oh, maybe my life doesn't have to suck big, huge donkey balls continuously. I'm a fan of it, but I'm not a rabid fan. I'm not like, this will change you, man. Like, I need a little more time and I need a few more sessions to see kind of, what happens. And it's like, hey, I'm glad that I did this. And I would consider this a negative trip, if you will. It wasn't like, oh, rainbows and sunshines and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to do a fun trip and with the medicine. A fun session, and then also it'd be fun to do another one. Fun's not the word, but necessary, I'm sure, to do some more deep dives. So, maybe next time I'll play or two. I'll just be like, nope, just me out here, just having a great time, great life, feeling confident, feeling secure, feeling safe, feeling, all those things. So I'm excited to do it again. I'm excited to keep working on the stuff in therapy, and I feel more hopeful. I'll say that. So it may not cure depression, but like I feel like there might be something out there to help me at least get through my issues a little faster, a little quicker, a little deeper. Like I'm a fan. I mean, I if you told me, hey, if you did that once a month for a year, you'd have you'd be a totally different person. Like, okay, let's do it. I'm totally down for it. So that's my thoughts on my initial ketamine treatment. I know this one is super long. I just wanted to make it a standalone thing, and I wanted to share it with people because you guys had asked, and more importantly, just wanted to make something that could be a resource for anybody thinking about it. Here's my ask, okay? I don't have any ads on this. I make nothing from this, but I would ask that if you got any value of this, and I know it was long at the beginning because the setup and all that, but I had to share that shit with you so you understood where I was coming from. Like, I'd appreciate it if you would share this on a timeline, social media with someone that you can think, not for my benefit, not even for your benefit, but there might be someone out there that's really struggling, that's thinking like I did, where it's like, hey, it's time to wrap this game up. It's the 9th inning in their mind, and it's really only the 3rd inning of life. And if you're on the fence about it, I will tell you the same thing I had to tell myself when I paid. I'm investing in myself and my betterment. Yes, I understand bills need to be paid, this, that. But if you're not at 100% and you can't, if you got something that just you can't seem to get over or get out or whatever, those big gnarly ass zits that you can feel building under your face for 2 weeks, and you're just like, this mother, and you're just prying on it every day and nothing comes out, and you're like, oh my God, like this thing is gonna be, I'm gonna have to get a table for 2, one for me and one for this growth, whatever we're gonna call it, right? And then one day you finally, whether it's submission, well, you finally mash on it, and then it just explodes, and you're just like, oh my God, I feel 1,000,000 times better. Like, in a sick, twisted way, that's what therapy and the ketamine treatment can do. It's like, hey, let's go find these things. Let's bring them to the surface so we can deal with it, process it, and move forward, not move on, but move forward in your life. It's not a miracle cure. You're still going to have to do some work, but it's, if you could have anything in the world to help assist you, like, this seems pretty damn good. As far as other psychedelics and stuff like that, no experience. Certainly no desire currently to do it just by myself. Again, I think having some help will be the way, at least for me, to get the most out of it initially. And then, it's kind of like pilot training, I'm guessing. After I take a couple flights with my co-pilot and I feel comfortable and I know where the controls are and I can keep from crashing this thing on takeoff and landing and in between, then maybe I take some solo journeys. But right now, we're doing a tandem jump, right? You're strapped to my back, and if I die, you die. Terrible example, but I think you know what it is. So my request isn't that you subscribe, although that'd be great, and that you leave a review. That'd be amazing. My request is that you simply share it. I get nothing from it. You get nothing from it except possibly helping somebody save themselves from themselves. And that is the greatest gift for all of us. So thanks for listening. I love you, man. I'll keep you updated when I change my name to Moonbeam Hippie Stocks and I start braiding my hair and I start, bathing in patchouli or oil, or I don't know, whatever the hippies are supposed to. I saw the squid people, man. Nothing like that so far. Hopefully it won't be. I promise I'll keep saying if you keep sharing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.